You've probably heard someone say annuities are bad, or have listened to a radio host that has been yelling at the top of their lungs saying that they're a scam, or maybe that they're just for the ultra conservative. But what if that advice is outdated? In 2025, interest rates are up, products have gotten better, and annuities, yes, annuities, might actually be a smart play for your retirement or investment plan. If you're even thinking about adding some protection to your investment plan or wanting some income in retirement because you don't have a pension, then this might be the most useful 10 minutes you'll spend today. I'm Tommy Warner, and this is Tommy 2 Cents. Today we'll be going over why annuities are so hated, why they might be a good choice in 2025, what things to avoid or look out for, as well as are annuities the right fit for you. Annuities get a bad rep, and I hear it all the time from people coming from other financial planners who are trying to force annuities onto them, even if it might not be a good fit. Oftentimes, annuities are more so sold instead of planned. An annuity can be one of the best insurance plans or investment plans that you can make if used in the right way. Another thing that gives them a bad rep is salespeople usually tend to make big commission on these products, so they'll tend to just sell it even if it's not the right fit for their client, which is super unfortunate. Another reason why people don't want annuities. Many people don't understand what it is they're buying. These annuity contracts often come with prospectuses that are 60 to 70 pages long. And I'm not going to read all of that if I got it in the mail, and I'm sure most people wouldn't either. So it tends to make them a little bit more confusing and not necessarily knowing exactly what you're getting into unless your advisor or planner gave you an in-depth tutorial on it. The biggest issue most people have with annuities is sometimes they come with very long surrender periods, being 10 to 12 years long. You can't necessarily get out of it, pull all your money out of it. There are some backdoor entries, but for the most part, your money's locked in for however long the surrender period is. An annuity is a type of investment product that usually is through an insurance company. It can be used in multiple different ways, either for a protective investment. You don't want to take on a whole lot of risk, so you have your investment protected and you're getting a rate of return, sometimes even better than a CD or a money market fund. The other ways that it can be used is if you want income. It kind of works like a pension where you can put in your premium, and then it could either grow with a certain index or maybe with sub accounts. And then it'll pay you, once you annuitize, it'll pay you a salary in retirement. There are lots of different types of annuities out there. I'll kind of go over the ones that I see most often, starting with the fixed annuity. Fixed annuity is just like a CD. You make a deposit and you'll get interest on that deposit, often for a lot longer periods than a typical CD. A fixed index annuity works a little bit similar to a fixed annuity where your deposit is going to be protected, but you'll be linked to an index. So a specific one like the S&P, the NASDAQ, or the Russell, just depending on what you're interested in, and you'll have a participation rate or a cap rate tied to that product. And then variable annuities, these ones are linked to certain sub-accounts, just like mutual funds. They often have their own expense ratios, and you'll also be probably paying a plan fee to be involved in a variable annuity. They too also have surrender periods, but they'll last you throughout however long you want to be invested in it. There are also immediate annuities where you can make a first-time deposit or one-time deposit and immediately start getting income off of that. So if you wanted to get immediate income, you would be able to invest in something like this, and it will give you income throughout the rest of your life or to a certain period. There's also deferred annuities where you want income but not right now. Works the same way. You make your deposit, and then 5, 20 years, whatever it may be, that's when you would start making or getting your income. Lastly, the most important one that I've been seeing a lot of now recently, mainly because there's a lot of hesitancy when it comes to being invested in the market, you can purchase something called a RILA. It's a registered index linked annuity. What it is, it basically allows you to participate in the market, kind of like the index annuity, where you choose between the S&P, QQQ, Russell 2000. Sometimes they have foreign indexes in there as well. But it allows you to participate in the market while having some downside protection. So how it usually works is you'll have different segments of the plan of the annuity, where you can do like a 1-year segment, 3-year, 6-year, 5-year, whatever it is. But during that time, it goes from 1 year to 1 year, or if you're in the 3 to 5, then it's like, from this point on to 3 years from now, you're protected on the downside buffer, whether it be 10% protection, 30, 40. But how it works is during that time period, if the market drops, then you're protected up to that percent. So if the market in a 1 year segment dropped 15%, but you had a 10% segment buffer, then you only lose 5% when the rest of the market loses 15. On the upside, it allows you to participate in the market, usually at a higher rate than you would find in a fixed index annuity, because you're opening yourself up to some risk. But the great thing about this is it is 1, 3, or 5 or 6 years, however long it might be, and then you can just re-up after that time period is over. So it offers you some protection. If you're uncertain how the way 2026 is going to turn out, you can do a 1 year, give yourself some protection. But if the market does well, then you still see some of that return. So a lot of people are starting to really, really like this product. So what's changed in 2025 that makes annuities a bit more appealing? Well, for starters, the interest rates have gone up. So that means that annuity payouts have also increased. We look a couple of years back, the payouts were maybe 4 to 5%, depending on what age you are when you want to receive your payout. But now we're starting to see some products that are along the lines of 6 to 7% payout. So I know a lot of people are interested in, income ETFs, or, investing in bond funds that give them a 4 to 5% rate of return on an annual basis. Sometimes these annuities are paying out a little bit more. You just got to make sure that it's still right for you, because with these annuities, there could be some fees. So you need to talk to somebody to figure that out too. A lot of the index annuities now, and especially with some of the RILAs, you don't have capped potential on there. So depending on how the market is going, sometimes what you might be used to, a 10% cap rate or 8% cap rate, now you're uncapped for a certain amount of time, just because these rates are doing so well. So there's always that benefit too that has come in 2025. Also, better riders exist within these plans. So just like how you can add a long-term care rider, or some kind of other benefit in an insurance policy, you can now add those onto your annuities too. So if you're looking for long-term care, or some sort of estate plan within the variable annuity, or an annuity for that matter, you would still be able to do that, which I have seen people do it and they use it effectively. It's great. A rule change that was made a few years ago, not necessarily special with 2025, but one thing to also think about when it comes to purchasing an annuity is most of the times now broker dealers have the Reg BI rule, which was enacted in 2020, and there's also the DOL fiduciary rule that forces your broker dealer or RIA to work in your best interests. So with these annuity plans, now most of the time the advisor, hopefully, isn't necessarily just selling you an annuity just because they're getting paid for it, but hopefully it's part of the bigger picture in your investment plan. So since those rules have taken into effect, annuities have become a little bit better of an investment than they were in the past. So when do annuities make sense? It's kind of a loaded question, and honestly, if you were to talk to somebody about it, give them your full situation, they would be able to help out and understand whether or not an annuity is right for you. But just some key factors that go into it is, do you need income in retirement? Are you trying to supplement your Social Security plan, maybe a pension plan, or you don't have anything at all and you just want set income in retirement? An annuity might be a good fit for you. Or if you're risk averse, you don't necessarily want to be fully invested in the market, you like the idea of having your original premium being protected, and you just want to add interest to it. You're not going to be touching the money for a little bit, so the surrender periods don't bother you. You just know it's going to be growing at a certain rate every year. Then an annuity might also be a good play. My previous mentor would describe annuities as the best decision you can make as long as you use it the way it's intended to be used, which kind of ties into the fact of what I said earlier with these advisors or planners just selling people annuities just because they would get paid on it. Obviously, there's going to be some form of payment with any investment vehicle that there is, so just get that out of your head. But when it comes to implementing an annuity that's going to work for you and benefit you, it is such a great product because it does give you income, or it protects you, or it does both, right? So at the end of the day, if you know that you have a need, an annuity might be a great fit for that need. Some red flags or questions to ask when you're going through the annuity process, or you want to, find out more, is how long are the surrender periods? So how long are you locked in for? What are the surrender charges? Sometimes they have falling charges, so surrender charge might fall off 1% or 2% every year the longer you stay in the plan. Also, what are the fees? Sometimes if you want to buy a variable annuity or participate in a variable annuity, there are a plan fee. So, it might be 1%, 1.2, 1.5%, whatever it is. There's always a plan fee when going through a variable annuity. There will also be the sub accounts that I had mentioned earlier that you invest in, right? So with these sub accounts, just like a mutual fund, there are usually expense ratios that go into it. To be invested in that certain sub account, there would be a charge for it. So altogether, your variable annuity or the annuity that you're buying might be a little bit higher than the plan fee that is listed on the prospectus that you get or what your advisor tells you, right? Because you have to take into consideration what you're actually being invested in. Okay, so that's another thing to look out for. And then another question to ask would be, what happens if you pass early on? God forbid, we all live long and healthy lives, right? But you want to ask the questions, cross your T's, dot your I's, about if I were to pass early, what happens to my money, right? And so figure out what the guaranteed death benefits are, what the standard death benefit is, and make sure that it's something that you're interested in. A lot of the times with some of these plans, your guaranteed death benefit might just be what your account balance is, or it could be the greater of your account balance or what your initial premium deposit was, or whatever your contributions are minus the growth or without the growth. So those are, important questions to ask. Another thing to look out for is if your financial plan is working, maybe you don't need an annuity. If you have a set plan, everything's going the way that you want it to go, you're making your annual reviews with your planner or advisor, and they bring up an annuity that just crossed their desk, it's going to be a great investment, take a step back. They might be right, but take a step back, look at your portfolio, look what your needs are. Maybe you don't need what they're proposing and you're fine with what you have, right? So you want to make sure that there is a benefit to having an annuity and not just something else that you're buying, right? Because at the end of the day, it would be a sale and you would be spending money on it because it has fees, might not have fees if you buy a fixed annuity or a fixed index annuity. But you want to make sure that it's going with your plan and that you have a strategy set. A lot of the times, people will just buy something that they think they need. They'll go through life, your uncle says, you need a 401k, you set up a 401k. Oh, you should invest in a Roth. Okay, I'll start investing in a Roth. You should really buy term insurance. Okay, I'll get term insurance. So you go throughout life grabbing these different things that you want or somebody told you they're a good idea to have. So you have these products branched out, right? But you want to make sure that your overall strategy takes all of these things into consideration and they're working specifically for you. So if you're going to make another purchase, invest in an annuity, you need to make sure that it is the right thing for you and you need to get advice for it. Because a lot of the times people will just kind of go in and buy something that they don't necessarily need. It might turn out in their benefit, might not. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that these purchases are going to be working in your benefit. Bottom line is, annuities aren't that garbage. Aren't all that garbage. Yes, I said that right. Aren't all that garbage. Trash. They're not trash. Anywho, so if you have a plan, you have a strategy in place, an annuity could help you get from point A to point B, whatever your needs are. Think of it as you would a power tool, right? If you have the right tool for the job, you're going to get it done, hopefully pretty easily. So that's how I want you to view an annuity, right? Is it the right tool for the job? If not, maybe I look somewhere else. But if I'm looking for income in retirement, if I want that protection with my investments, I don't want to be fully invested in the market, I like the idea of a downside protection or being fully protected, then this would be a good conversation to have with somebody who can have that conversation with you. Anyways, this has been Tommy 2 Cents. Thank you for joining today and hope to hear from you soon. Take it easy.